The Australia versus England third T20I at the Manuka Oval in Canberra got washed out and it was a no result. So it was rather a damp end to the series. By the way, this was the last series that was going to be played before the T20 World Cup. Now, every team has played all the necessary bilateral and multilateral series that needs to be. Now there will only be the T20 World Cup qualifiers and then the main tournament that begins from October 22nd. Today, Pakistan won the tri-series and England managed to seal a 2-0 series win against Australia down under. So heading into this T20 World Cup, there are some teams that are very high on momentum. In this special video, what I'm going to do is recap which team is high on momentum and what has been their performances from the last T20 World Cup till now. Remember, the sample size that I've taken is from November 15th till the final game on October 14th between Australia and England. That will give you a clear picture as to which team stands where when it comes to preparation and which team is slightly struggling when it comes to momentum heading into the T20 World Cup. So I'm going to start with all the 8 to 9, all the top 10 teams that are there. So let me begin firstly with our very own Indian cricket team. Ever since November 15, 2021, India have played 35 T20Is, won 26, lost just 8. And one has been a no result. The staggering fact about this is they have not lost a single series in the last 1 year. The closest they came to losing was a 2-2 draw that they had against South Africa in June. Have won 8 out of the 10 series with 1 draw. I mean, imagine that. Out of that 8 series, everything has been a bilateral series. 1 draw was also a bilateral series, but the one major loss that they had in this entire year was in the Asia Cup, which was a multi-nation tournament. They missed out qualifying for the knockout stages because they lost to Sri Lanka and they lost to Pakistan in the Super 4 stages. Apart from that, just 8 losses in 35 matches means that India's momentum, whatever be it with injuries, whatever be it with team changes, whatever be it with all the other distractions, their preparations for Australia have actually been damn good. And remember, in the last 2 years, in 2018-19 and 2020-2021, India have achieved tremendous success in all formats in Australia. So that gives them a good confidence heading into the T20 World Cup. What about our neighbors, Pakistan? Mercurial as always. Schoolboys in one particular tournament, legends in yet another tournament. Asia Cup final loss. The 7-match T20 series against England lost at home, lost to Australia at home, but the tri-series involving New Zealand and Bangladesh, they were the undisputed kings. 25 matches, 16 won, lost 9. Pakistan in every T20 World Cup, they have always done pretty well. Exceptions are 2014 and 2016. But apart from that, 2021 semi-final, 2012 semi-final, 2010 semi-final, 2009 winner, 2007 finalists, they are pretty consistent. And heading into this, they are also pretty inconsistent in these matters. They reached the Asia Cup T20 final, but they lost to Sri Lanka. They lost 2 and won 1 series at home. They won 1 against the West Indies, but they lost to England and Australia. But the T20I tri-series title just before the World Cup gives them a massive boost. What about Sri Lanka? 6-time Asia Cup champions. How has their progress been ever since the T20 World Cup 2021 till now? Remember, they were in a very tough group. It was the group of death. Australia, England, South Africa, West Indies, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh. That was a very tough group that they had. But apart from that, their tournament performances have been woeful. Bilaterals, they didn't win a single one though. 7-1 out of 17 actually does not look for good momentum when it comes to T20 World Cup. But Australia showed that if you lose 8 out of 10, you can still go on to win the tournament. Sri Lanka will take heart from the fact that because they won the Asia Cup for the 6th time, they can very well be confident of their progress in the T20 World Cup. Remember, they went to Australia for a 5-match T20I series and lost 1-4. But 2 of those matches were very, very close. One in Sydney went to a super over, and it took Josh Hazlewood's brilliant bowling to ensure that Sri Lanka were thwarted. Now, the final member of this Asian club, and unfortunately, Bangladesh, what we can say about them? They have been absolutely woeful heading into the T20 World Cup in 2022. I mean, just 4 wins out of 19. And the worst part is they have achieved wins against the likes of UAE, against the likes of Zimbabwe. Not a good preparation if you have to look at it, considering that Bangladesh are not in the qualifiers, but they are in that core wherein they have automatically qualified. It really gives food for thought as to what the ICC rankings must be, because even in the Asia Cup, Bangladesh were totally out of the depth. And remember, 20 completed T20Is. If you have to look at it, take away associate nations, they have not won a single T20 against one of the test nations. Established, I'm talking about. So they have lost 7 out of the last 10 T20Is, and heading into this, they had played 2 T20Is against the UAE. In this tri-series, they were swept away. As it was by one of their sponsors, it really meant for dark humor. They won only against the UAE twice, Afghanistan and Zimbabwe. As I had said, they haven't won against an established nation for quite some time now. England, one of the prime contenders. After the Canberra washout, 21 played, but surprisingly it's been pretty even for them. Won 10, lost 10 with this one no result. Remember, they didn't start the final this thing pretty well. 2021 they didn't start well, but they are ending the build-up in pretty good fashion. They won series in Pakistan and Australia under Josh Butler's captaincy, and with the return of Ben Stokes, England now look a real deal indeed. Lost to India, West Indies and South Africa. This will be really worrying for them, because New England has gone out with a bang policy, but when it doesn't fire, it doesn't fire. But that is not to say that England are not one of the prime contenders. They are one of the major contenders for the T20 World Cup. With Butler in charge and with all the others, with the exception of Bairstow who's injured, they still have the firepower to do it. What about the hosts, the Aussies? Not a good preparation for them as far as we are concerned, because 2-0 losing to England, and that too just before the T20 World Cup, has plenty of questions for them too. 17, won 10, lost 6 with this one no result in Canberra. They lost to England for the first time, can you believe it, in a T20I series at home. And the one thing that you can say is they won in Pak and Sri Lanka, but they lost to India. So the losses to India and to England in consecutive series has not helped their confidence one bit. But Australia at home are formidable, and they are also one of the contenders, although a disclaimer has to be said, no host nation has ever won the T20 World Cup. And looking at the performances and the unpredictability of the other teams, it seems as if this trend could continue. 2-time World T20 champions, the West Indies. What is their plight? Not good at all. They have had to go through the qualifiers, and Group B is a pretty tough qualifying group, considering it's West Indies, Zimbabwe and Ireland in that. Very, very tough chances indeed, and it's reflected in this. Played 24, won 7, lost 16 with one no result. They lost on a regular basis against India. 3-0 when they came to India, they were whitewashed. 1-4 when India toured the West Indies, they were hammered there. They lost to Pakistan also. Just before this, they were hammered 2-0 by Australia. So heading into this T20 World Cup, they are not high on confidence, but they can take a lot of hope from the fact that they had won the series against England 3-2. And the inconsistency that has been plaguing West Indies cricket, and with new faces coming in now, it's a real big problem for them. They lost the home series even to New Zealand. So they have plenty to think about, and one wonders whether they can cause some upsets, because in Australia, remember, they have won only one match across formats ever since 2013, and that was a T20 against Australia in Brisbane. The Proteas, forever and eternally the bridesmaid of ICC events. Remember, one loss in 2021 and they were out of contention for the semi-finals. 13 matches only, won 7, lost 5, but they were the only team who held India to a draw in India, 2-2 in June. But apart from that, they lost the series in India this time. For the first time, they lost in India, by the way. They have played only 4 series in the last 1 year. It shows Where are South Africa's priorities when it comes to this? They are struggling in the ODI qualification. World Cup, just before the World Cup, they have just played 4 series. And even in the test matches, their ICC World Test Championship final hopes are hanging by a thread after they lost to England. So, very tricky times for South Africa. And with their captain, Temba Bavuma, not performing, a lot of questions. The Black Caps. You may be swayed by the fact that why am I so low on confidence for the Black Caps? Played 18, but they won 12, lost only 6. Well, there is a deeper story behind this. The Black Caps started their tournaments, they started the year after the 2021 World T20 final with wins against the associate nations, Ireland, the Netherlands, and also the West Indies, one of the test playing nations. But after that, they have lost to India and also they've lost the Tri-Series final. Plus, there is a massive bogey that they have in Australia. Not since 2009, they have not won a white ball match there. They had won a test match in 2011 in Hobart, but in white ball, it's a nightmarish situation currently for the Black Caps. So, not too confident even this time around. And remember, October 22, the first match of the T20 World Cup, it is Australia versus New Zealand at the Sydney Cricket Ground. And finally, I talk about Afghanistan. 15 matches, won 8, lost 7. They were very, very unlucky to not qualify for the Asia Cup knockouts because 2 sixes by Naseem Shah broke their hearts. And Afghanistan can still harbor hopes of winning matches in the T20 World Cup because they have a pretty strong core. They missed the Asia Cup semis, but heading into this, it's not been a pretty smooth ride for them. They lost a series to Ireland and they drew with Bangladesh. So that is the situation that Afghanistan are confronting. But remember, some of the Afghan players like Mohammad Nabi and Rashid Khan have had experience in the Big Bash League. And so that experience will probably help them because one of the games for Afghanistan is in Adelaide. So one hopes that they can spring a surprise there as well. So that is the build-up for all the 10 teams that they have ever since the last 1 year. And if you have to look at it, it's India who have actually had the best build-up. They have played the most number of games, they have won the most, and also they have lost the least when you look at the proportion and the percentage of it. Injuries aside, if everything can click as a unit for India, then I don't see why they cannot win the 2022 T20 World Cup. So thank you so much folks for joining us for this live. We'll be back with more updates on Sports Today. Press the like, comment and share button. We are gearing up for the T20 World Cup now folks. Just 8 days to go for the start of the first match. Thank you. Bye-bye.